And I came into his house to have church this morning, and I don't know about you, and I don't know what's going on this morning, but you ought to give God some praise that you have a mother. And don't get this thing twisted. It's okay to have Mother's Day, but understand what you come to church to do. I said, how many can testify that God is good? The reason why you wonder why sometimes your blessings don't come to your doorstep because you got this thing all twisted. Your priorities spiritually are all messed up. So you put everybody else and then you want to stick God in, but it's God and everybody else. And maybe I'm the only one that want to have church this morning. So if you don't come to have church, then we'll just get into it so you can get to your Sunday dinner. We're in book of Exodus. We read chapter 2 for our responsive reading, starting at verses 1 through 10. Let's read it again just for a moment. We want to thank our choir. The ushers for being on post as well. We want to thank all of our members this morning for just being here. It says, and there went a man of the house of Levi and took to him to wife a daughter of Levi. The woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and dabbed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off and went what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself in the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side. And when she had saw the ark among the flags, she sent to her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew. She brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, because I drew him out of the water. May the Lord have blessing to the reading, hearing of his holy and divine word. If it be God's will on the Mother's Day of 2013 this year, I would like us to think on this phrase. Mother I thank you for just being mom. And to side note it, you're the best mother in the world. Mother, I thank you for just being mom. And you're the best mother in the world. You'd be so kind to turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor. Neighbor. Good morning, neighbor.
Good morning, neighbor.
This morning with God's help.
This morning with God's help.
Pastor Jackson's going to talk about.
Pastor Jackson's going to talk about.
You're the best mother.
You're the best mother.
In the world.
In the world.
Amen. And you tell it to the men too. Somebody had to turn to a man. They wouldn't say that. Here in this of Exodus, first of all, we know that Exodus has been penned by Moses himself, and it is conceived that he penned the text around 1446 BC. The word Exodus means to depart. So the actual book itself is saying depart. They're departing at the end of the text or at the end of the book to out of Egypt, and they're going towards the promised land. And here you have a little history about the Hebrew nation or the Israelites themselves. You know, the Israelites are descendants from Abraham himself. And because of Abraham's seed, you now have the Israelites. They journey down to Egypt because of famine, and while they are in Egypt, Pharaoh recognizes that if I don't do something quickly to the people of Israel, they will overtake my kingdom. So in order to keep them from overtaking my kingdom, because they already outnumber us, I need to not only enslave them, but what I need to do is also get rid of the men or the male children 2 years old or younger. So it didn't just start yesterday that the government decided to get rid of the male baby or the male himself. He's become a dangerous species. In other words, you will find more minority men in prison than you will in college. Amen. That's nothing new, because it has always been the device of Satan that if I can keep the male down, who ought to be the leader of the community, then I can keep the community down. Now, as long as I keep the man down, and they never take full responsibility for what they are, then what I have to then use a weaker vessel to try to do what men ought to be doing. It didn't just start yesterday. This thing's been going on since the Bible days, that in order to keep Israel enslaved, I must first of all start with the children. And particularly, I must start with the male child, because if he cannot create new children, procreate, then I can keep the nation down. So to understand what's going on in chapter 2, you must understand the edict or the decree that Pharaoh had made. Pharaoh said we must get rid of male baby 2 years old or younger. Well, that brings us up to chapter 2, and you'll find in chapter 2 that the Bible says in verse 1 right there, it says, and there went a man of the house of Levi, and took to wife the daughter of Levi. A couple of things here I want to bring to your attention before we get into the points. First thing, it says, man of the house of Levi. Now, you have to understand that when they're saying Levi, they're talking about Jacob and Rachel's third son. You remember Jacob. Jacob had two wives. He had Rachel and he had Leah. And Leah is the wife or the woman that bears several of the children for Jacob. But Jacob doesn't really love Leah like he loves Rachel. But God still uses Leah to help push God's plan in motion. In other words, what I'm trying to get you to see is, just because he don't see nothing in you, does not mean God doesn't see something in you. See, I think that's good news to know, because sometimes you want the man to pat you on the back, and he will never pat you on the back. But you can still ride to where God wants you when you recognize that God is the one patting you on the back. See, the reason why you don't have an attitude all week and all month long, because he hadn't paid attention that you got new shoes. Because sometimes it's not in our DNA to pay attention to something as minute as some new shoes. But I guarantee you, if you really want to get his attention, take it out of the bank account. You take $500 out of the bank account and you don't tell us why you took $500 out of the bank account, then I'll pay attention to what you did with the $5. See, as long as you're buying shoes from Payless and you're getting them on discount, that doesn't spark my interest enough for me to pay attention. All I'm really trying to do is help you today, the women and mothers, to understand that sometimes you will not be appreciated for what you've done. But it does not take away from what you have done. But also here it says that the man was from the house of Levi, and the woman was from the daughter of Levi. What are you saying here? First of all, these two individuals were equally yoked. I know in Mother's Day. And I know it's all about mothers, but you can't have a mother without having a man in the picture. Now, I was going to say husband, but we don't even call them husbands no more. We call them baby daddies. But you can't have a mother without the man. But not only that, but you can't have a marriage without two individuals being on one accord. Now, you can have a marriage without two being on one accord, but the marriage will never be what it ought to be if they are not equally yoked. Now, we throw that equally yoked around in church, but let's get a little deeper than the equally yoked. It does not mean that you're Christian, they're Christian. Equally yoked also means I go to work, you get your storyteller and go to work too. Equally yoked also means is how we going to discipline the children. See, you don't want to marry somebody or get hooked up with somebody when you say, I'm going to whoop the child, and they think they're too cute to even be looked at. That's called division. Don't you touch my baby. Your baby. Oh, my baby too. You know how it is. If I am a disciplinarian and you get the baby, whatever you want, they want, you are not equally yoked across all lines. So he said, in order for things to rise the way they need to, you've got to be on one page. And the reason why is because she can't put the baby in the basket without the husband's approval.
That's right. Yes, sir. That's right.
Somebody missed that. But in order for the mother to take the baby and put him in the basket, the husband had to agree to the terms. Well, in order to agree to the terms, they are equally yoked. And the reason why it's important for parents and mothers to be equally yoked or one accord is because you're going to have some decisions to make in your life.
That's right. Come on.
Should we buy the house? Should we relocate?
Yes, sir.
Whose insurance will they be on? Not only that, but if you cannot agree on simple things like that, you can't bury nobody.
That's it. You're right.
See, I know it's natural for parent to for the parent to die first and the children bury the parent. That's natural. But in the world we live, it's oftentimes the parent burying the child. Can't. If you're not on one accord with simple things like how are we going to chastise or how are we going to raise the kids, how can you handle the difficult situation like losing your job?
That's right.
But he says they are from the same house, and I know you ain't going to talk to me this morning, but that's okay. You don't talk, I get a little meaner. So you don't talk, I'll pull it out some way or another, but you don't have to talk, that's fine, I'm going to preach anyway. But not only do I see that they are equally yoked, but it says they are from the house of Levi and the daughter of Levi. Let's look at that real quick and I'll move on to our point. First thing you have to understand is the father of Moses, the biological father of Moses, his name is Amram. Amram is the son of Kohath. Kohath is the son of Levi himself. So if you do the genealogy, Levi, the third son from Jacob, he is actually Moses' great-grandfather. Now the mother of Moses, her name is Jochebed. Jochebed, and Jochebed, she is actually the sister to Kohath, which would make her husband and the baby's father her nephew, which is Amram, which is Kohath's son. Yeah, we know we got some incest going on, but that's how they did it back then. Now the thing I want you to see is that they are equally yoked and they come from the same loins. But I wanted you to also see that who's his great grandfather. It was Levi himself, and we know from Levi we get the priests that would come through from Aaron, and Amram is also the father. And these two couples this couple is also the mother of Aaron and Miriam. Now we know Aaron is Moses' brother, who helps him when he goes down to Pharaoh and tells him, "Let my people go." But we also know that they had a sister named Miriam, and she is also from this house. Three things I got us to see that Mom, you're the greatest in the world is, first thing, we want to see the mother's protection. A mother's protection. And I think you see that there in verse 2 and some of 3. It says in 2, "And the woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. When she could no longer hide him," let's stop there. When she could no longer hide him. Let's look at what a mother, the greatest mother in the world. She's a type of person who is willing to protect her children. Yeah. See, the mark of a good mother is she will protect her children. It says here that this mother protected her children, or protected her son for 3 months. Yeah. Now, anybody that knows anything about anything, you understand that a natural instinct for any parent, whether they are a beast or a male or female or human, they will naturally protect their young. Yeah. You don't believe me? Try to mess with Cheetah's little cub. All of a sudden, Cheetah, who normally won't probably bother a human, will ride that back, show you their teeth, and begin to give you the signal you need to move around. You go in the backyard, your dog has young, and they'll let you oftentimes handle the young, but they are very protective of how you go and touch the baby. And all of a sudden, a man's best friend who normally will eat out of your hand will all of a sudden eat your hand.
That's right.
Come on. That's right.
And if you want to see a mother act crazy, just lose her marbles, you do something or try to hurt her baby. All of a sudden now, normal woman who's little petite and won't hardly hurt a fly, something will come out of her. Almost like a booming voice that you didn't even know was in there. You get away from her! Some booming voice from within will come out because she is naturally going to protect her baby. Now, a couple things here, and I don't know if you see it like I see it, but I see a couple things here. First of all, it is good for a mother to protect her child. But a mother or a good mother knows she can only protect her child with reason. That's right. I don't know if you see that. You're right. That's right. I see it. Reason means with logic. In other words, a good mother will protect her child as long as it is logical to protect her child. You don't want to hear it, I don't care. But in our community, we will protect our children when it is not logical. See, it says that she hid the baby for 3 months. The reason why she could only hide him for 3 months, 3 months because the baby was cooing. Yeah. And all of a sudden, now, I can't do the cooing this morning, but you know what they do when they start making noises and moving around. And the reason why she's trying to hush the baby, because you already know Pharaoh said, if we find the baby 2 years old or younger, we're going to throw him into the Nile. Crocodile is going to eat the baby, so she's trying to hush the baby, and the Bible says that the baby was a goodly child. Well, when you get into Hebrew, the goodly means to be. To be here, that means that he was a beautiful baby.
Yeah.
He was a cute little thing. He was a little cutie baby. And not only was he a cute child, but he also was one of the child that had a personality. In other words, he just didn't lay there and not make a sound. He had a little bit of a personality, even though he was a little baby. Liam's personality is starting to kind of show now. At first, he was just looking at the wall. Just look at the ceiling and wouldn't do anything. He wouldn't even hardly make a move. But now, he almost takes his eyes out and rub it on. And he said, if you say hi, he'll go. You say, hey, little man, he almost says, make a little noise. So he's starting to get his father's personality. But so she's trying to keep the baby silent and still, but she realizes that after 3 months, it's not logical to keep her child where he's at. Because although it is natural to protect, if I keep the child hidden any longer, then what it's going to mean is I am actually going to get my child killed. So what are you saying, Pastor? What I said was this. It's logical to protect your child as long as you can. But when it's time to allow them to live their life, if you keep on trying to protect them, they're going to die. Not necessarily physically, but they will die in their relationship. They will die when it comes time to take care of themselves. Why? Because you've been protecting them all their life. And logically, it is not logical to protect them forever. Why? Because you can't protect them from everything. And you cannot protect them forever. Now the problem with a whole lot of our mothers, and it's not necessarily your fault, you product of your environment. Daddy ain't nowhere to be found, and if he is, he's jack-legged. So part of the reason why you feel like you must nurse the baby even though they're 7 feet tall and they got a beard underneath their chin and they're 35 years old is because you just want them to you want to protect them and you want them to reach their full potential. But what happens is this, you never allow them to grow outside of your protection. So what happens is they become gullible to society. They have a false sense of reality when they get into the streets. And I want you to know, I've never been in the street. I don't come from the slums. I don't come from the ghetto. I don't come from any of those walks of life. But I do know this much. The streets are real. That's why I don't come from there. I probably would be alive if I came from the street, because the streets mean you no harm. But when you don't know that, you think people that are really trying to take advantage of you are your friends. You wonder why the young tender thing, when she 22 years old and she can't understand why he won't marry her and all this good stuff, and all he's doing is coming over and getting the goods. Because you're gullible. I ain't tell you that. You want to draw him in. You got to put that skirt down. Because what will happen is, if he really into you, he'll act right and he'll wait. But when all's about is the cooking, and you can't understand the difference between love and some lusting, then what happens is you get enamored with lust, and you think lust is love. So I've been with this Negro for 8 years and he ain't married me yet. Well, because he don't need to marry me. He don't need to marry you when I already live in the house. You don't put your money into my bank account. I tell you who your friends can be, who you can't have friends with. I tell you what to wear, what not to wear, and I've already taken you from your family and friends. stupid enough to allow that to happen. Part of the problem is because you are gullible in your situation. Your mom or your daddy been protecting you all your life, and they never allowed you to have experiences in life. My parents raised us well. I thank my parents, but even though my dad was a pastor and we grew up all that, one thing my parents also instilled to us is this. You will be always a Christian and a PK and all that good stuff, but you also are a person. Yeah. My daddy also said, you're a male and a female. And look how he said, I can remember it almost as if it was yesterday when he said, I was 12 at the time, he said, look, called me and Calvin in and said, look, I'm not going around the city every day looking for you to see what you do or not do. If you unzipping it and you taking it out and you get somebody pregnant, you're going to take care of the baby. Your mom and I ain't taking care of the baby. Such as Key Harry said, and if you allow folk to get in there, and you have a baby, you the one that's going to take care of the kid, and he going off to school. Said, I ain't driving around the city to see where you're supposed to be. We raised you, you go where you're supposed to go. Now, does that mean we did everything by the book? No. But at least they had the confidence in us to make the right decision. Because they protected us, but they had to allow us also to experience life. We were having dinner yesterday, and we were talking, and he came up that we used to cuss. Kids, we cuss sometimes, and my grandmother said, I didn't know y'all cussed. And my mom looked down at her and said, Mama, why would they cuss in front of you? And she said, when you start cussing, I've been cussing since elementary school. I don't know about nobody else, but somebody look at me crazy, I call them all kinds of stuff. But see, the thing that I'm trying to get us to see is this. You got to allow the child to grow up some. So good parent will protect their child, but they will also allow their child to learn and to live life. Why? Because you ain't going to be there always. And no matter how much you want to protect them, you will never be there always. And at least you can say, I did the best protecting I could while I could, and instead of this, not my child will never do that. But part of the reason why, because you're right there, weren't you? You won't let them date, and they 18 years old. Then you wonder why when they come to college and they meet me. or one of my homeboys who just wants to just happen and move on. We all grown in here. You wonder why that happens to them. It's because when they're 16, you can't go on no date. You can't wear no makeup. You can't do any of those things that they go off to college and do. I remember my ex-girlfriend, her parents, we were seniors in high school. My senior year in high school, I was 18, so technically, even though I was in the house, I was grown legally. And my first date with her, we went to go see The Green Mile that year. That was when The Green Mile came out, and we sit next to each other in the movie theater, and our parents are sitting next to us. And they wonder why. When she got to college, she was at every frat party, and before you knew it, she was giving it up to everybody. Now, does that mean everybody gonna do that? Not necessarily, but the concept is when you bond them down and they become free, then they fly like a bird. They fly far, far, far away from here. What she told Forrest. Make me a bird so I can fly far, far away from here. And closing on these protection, I came up with my own little story about one day this kid goes to school and he has trouble at school, and over time he builds up this reputation for being this bully. this fighting happening. The mother cannot understand why her son is going around beating kids up and fighting. So they called the mother in one day and they say, Sister Mal, we want you to know that little Johnny is bully around here. He's beating kids up, and every day he has to fight, and she just can't understand. She said, no, not mine. Not my little Johnny. My little Johnny is not aggressive. He doesn't even talk back. He doesn't, when somebody throws a rock at him, he comes and tells me and all those good things. So she's in denial of who little Johnny really is. So they said, well, ma'am, they called her back in a couple weeks later. They say, little Johnny just got into another fight. So now, like most mothers, she's upset because she has to leave. What? But she's not upset with Johnny. She's upset with the school for calling her. But she says, I know little Johnny is not a bully. He doesn't fight and he doesn't need to beat kids up. But they said, man, we have some evidence to show you how little Johnny acts at school. So they open up the filing cabinet, they pull out this stack of paper, this high, and put on the desk. And she's looking around and says, what's this? And they said, well, ma'am, we've been watching you for the last 5 years while Johnny was in kindergarten. Now Johnny's in 5th grade. We've been watching you for the last 5 years. And she said, oh my, I don't understand what you're talking about. They said, well, we've taken affidavits from the bus clerk, the bus driver herself. When they get off the bus, the person that picks them up, she's written an affidavit. The assistant principal who's looking out the window when the bus arrived saw you and they got their affidavit. And also, all these other individuals, parents and others, have given their affidavits to saying that little Johnny is the way he is because of you. She said, well, what did I do so wrong in this last 5 years? They said, well, first of all, it first started when he first went to kindergarten. Said when he got ready to get on the bus, you asked the bus driver, could I ride too? Bus driver closed the door and drove off in your face. So from that day on, you don't ask no more, can you ride the bus too? You just get in your car and follow the bus to school. Yeah. Even though you put them on the bus, you then get in your car and follow the bus, and every stop, you stop behind the bus and make sure little Johnny arrives at school safe because you want to protect him. And when you get out of the car, you always got your t-shirt on that says, that's my boy, and they got an arrow pointing to him. So what happens is, they started calling him a mama's boy around the school. And can't nobody call you a mama's boy or say your mama at our school because that starts a fist fight. So every day when he gets off the bus, you're behind him. He does not know you're there, but your shirt says, that's my boy. And people start picking on him. So he has to fight every single day, and all of a sudden he becomes a bully. The moral of the story is this. You can protect him within reason. But at some point, it's not funny anymore, it's sad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cannot lie. Now, secondly, not only do we see the mother's protection, but secondly, I see the mother's preparation.
Yes.
We see the mother's preparation. I think you see that there in verse 3. It says, and when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrush and dabbed it with slime and pitch and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. Now, mother's preparation. First of all, good mother, godly mother will begin to prepare her child or her children for the next stages in life. See, nothing wrong with protecting, but as you're protecting, you ought to be preparing them to leave the nest. Now, if I'm a good mother or a good parent, I am going to protect to the fullest. I'll give my life up for the child. And that's what she was literally doing, putting her life on the line while she had the baby for 3 months. But at the same time, she recognized she had to prepare him for the next day.
Yes.
The Bible says that. When she realized she could no longer hide the baby no more because he cooing and he making little noises and probably trying to stick his head up and kicking the covers off and all that good stuff, she realized that she then must build an ark. The ark here means boat or box. Same term they use when you deal with Noah's ark. And the ark represents safety, security, and salvation. A mother must prepare her child and secure her child, but it also must push them into salvation. How can one reach salvation? They must find God for themselves. So in order for a good mother to prepare her child, she realizes that I can only do so much. God has to do the rest. So as she puts the baby into the ark, she realizes that I've done all human possible I can do to prepare my child. But in order for the child to reach the next level, they must have God in their life.
Good.
Now that's some faith. That you can take your little baby, who's cooing and looking up at you and drooling at the mouth, and you can put them in an ark and then put the ark in the water. Now, first of all, you got to understand this ark that she builds. First of all, she takes some reed, some papyrus plant, and it was strong, almost like a bamboo stick, and that was the kind of threading that they could do, and she would thread that thing like they would if you had like rope. The rope is strong and really secure, and she could build this thing and make the concoction how she needed to so that the baby would be secure inside. Not only that, but in her preparation, she would also take some kind of liquid, which was the slime and dabbing. In other words, what dabbing means is put it on the inside and the outside of the boat so that it would become waterproof once it would dry up. And become cement hard so that there would be no water coming up through the coils or the tying of the rope. But then she also realized that in order for this baby to be prepared for the next thing in life, she also then had to put him in the right place. The Bible does not say, but it is denoted when she puts him by the brink. What's by the brink is a strong, tall grass, which are called reed plants. These reed plants can actually go to 16 feet in the air, and what it would do is it would cause him to be camouflaged. So that as people would walk by, they could not see the basket. Not only does the reed plant keep him from being seen and camouflages him, but then also the reed plants are strong enough to hold the basket in place so that the basket does not move downstream. I'm deeper than you think, even though you don't think I'm that deep. I'm deep because here it comes. One of the reasons why she puts him in the reed plant, not only to keep him camouflaged, but as the reed plant won't move it downstream, she can still keep an eye on him, although she's preparing him to leave the house. Somebody missed that. But as your children get older, you ought to be preparing them to leave the house, but while they're still in your care, you ought to know their whereabouts.
That's right.
You ain't gonna be 15 in my house talking about I'm grown. Negro! Please. And our culture, because everything is viral now. You saw that kid up in Duncan Black in the food. And now they put the teacher on leave. That's the kind of life we live in. Everything is viral now, and you can't say nothing to your child without being on news. Well, in my house, say whatever I want to my child. Care what nobody says, as long as I ain't abusing, I do what I want. My house. Now, you got some folk that they don't want to parent no more. They want to be the parent's pal, or they want to be their kid's pal. They don't want to parent. They want to be patted. And because of that, they don't want to intrude. That's the word they use. I don't want to intrude on my children's space.
Come on now.
They're just as foolish as the child, because the child learns a little bit about the 10 Amendments, the Bill of Rights at school, and they come back home and say, Mother, Father, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equally, endowed by our Creator with unalienable rights, and the pursuit of life and liberty and all this good stuff. And before you know it, you say, you're right. You are right. In fact, I won't go in your room when your door is closed.
Come on now.
Because I don't want you to think that while you were at school, I was snooping in your room, and I don't want to break trust between you and me, because we are.
Come on now.
And they wonder why they are on Facebook meeting predators.
Yeah.
So they close the door, you see the glow, and you keep on walking. Is everything all right in there? Peachy, mama. Yeah. And so as parents, you need to be actively involved in what your children are doing. While you're preparing them to leave, I still am the parent, and I'm going to watch what's going on with you. Just because they're in middle school don't mean you can't be looking at their text.
Come on now.
First of all, you're the one who bought the phone. Now, if you're stupid enough to buy the phone and the kid is 3, then you ought to have enough sense to look at the phone. Talking about that's my what? We didn't have cell phone growing up. Well, first of all, they weren't really coming out that much with them when they were starting to come out towards the end, but you had the big phone this big. You know, in order to have a cell phone that big, you know, just like walking around like this. Just, you know, big cell phone. You didn't want no big cell phone, so you decided, didn't want no cell phone. Well, our parents, they were saying, well, what we'll do is get you guys a beeper. See? And so something happens, you can page, or we can put pages in, and we can put little codes in. You know those guys. H and all that good stuff, 704 and all that, whatever they're doing, 703, whatever that is, but you know how to do it. And we had the codes. You put codes in the phone in a little page. And we never got one, but it wasn't because we just didn't get one, but we never got one, it wasn't a big deal, but the concept is, how many of us are doing that today? Kids can't read, they can't write, they causing trouble in school every day, and they got new shoes, they got every game you can think of, and they got cell phones better than the teacher. Sitting in the class with an iPad. Teacher don't even have iPad. And then they talk about, I don't know what happened to little John. Now, first of all, you don't pay attention to what little Johnny does. Little Johnny calls you and says, Mom, my homies is coming over. He uses the word homies. That does not strike anything in your ear. When he was 5, he used to use the word friend. Now, homie. Now, I was listening to Steve Harvey the other day, and lady, you know, they had the strawberry, they had a lady come writes in, and she says she would want some advice because her daughter, who was in college, was living at home. But when she would drive the mother's car, hopefully you're hearing the inflection, the mother's car, the mother would notice that she had a different smell in the car when she would get in the car after the daughter got out of the car. When she would go by the daughter's room, she recognized the same odor would come from underneath the door in the daughter's room. So what does the mother do? She opens the door, goes in, and the daughter don't have enough sense to hide the stuff. It's right there in what we call in the criminal justice field, plain sight. So anybody know anything about criminal justice like me, that's my major. When it's in plain sight, the police don't need a warrant to search the house. Or to search the car. If it's on the dash, then you've given them the automatic check to be able to go and see whatever they want. So the stuff is right there by the dresser in plain sight. And we know it's marijuana. Just in case somebody doesn't know what I'm talking about. So she's writing Steve because she wants to know how should she handle the situation. The child is in her house. Although they are 19, 20 years old, they're living in their mama's house as opposed to living in the dorm or having their own apartment.
Come on now.
She driving her mama's car. You so grown, but you can't even buy a car. But then you're going to have the audacity to smoke marijuana in the car. So if you get stopped, the car going to the impound and you're going to jail. But she's a good daughter, and that's what she put in the letter. But she never gets in any trouble, and she wants to be a doctor. Like we give a blank. When she's smoking weed. And she doesn't have enough respect for you, what you're doing for her, to put your house in jeopardy. And that's what we have from time to time. Situation, we don't want to rock no boat because we want to know all the deep dark secrets. Girl, come on in. That's what I'm talking about, kid. Girl, come in here and tell me about your day. See, it used to be, I ain't that old, but it used to be where you didn't really want to tell your mom what went on the day. You know, if he tried to kiss you, you'd be like, Mom, we just hugged and that was it. Now, yeah, Mom, he tried to put his hand here and there. Girl, did he do it? Yeah, he tried. And she's 12. She's 12. And they have no kind of conversation anymore. Did he give you a hickey? Yeah, look, it's right here on my shoulder. Because he want to be proud. Don't want to be the mom and say, girl, I'm going to kill you.
That's right.
If punching you in jail, I'm going to kill you.
That's right.
But you want to be proud.
Yeah.
So you got to learn to prepare your children. And when you prepare them, then you can be like Miriam. See there in verse 4 it says that his sister stood afar off and with what would be done to him. In other words, as you're preparing your children for life, you also teach your children, if they have siblings, to learn to join together because you ain't going to be there always. See, I remember Mama always told us this. She said, you got your mom and your daddy, but you won't always have us. But you always will have your brother and sister. See, we sometimes be in there not getting along, and my mom and dad would want to beat us because they were like, that's your brother.
Yeah.
That's your sister. If you can't rely on nobody else, you can rely on them.
Yeah. Come on now.
So who comes and relies on Moses to make sure all is well? His sister. Say, I'll put you in the basket in the creek so you won't go down the stream so I can watch what's going on, but I'm going to send your sister to watch over you. In other words, there ought not to be no division among your children. See, when there's division, favoritism, then folk don't care. They don't want to watch over each other because there's bitterness. You know, it goes from being, that's my brother, my sister, I got your back, to they don't even like the person. You wonder why they fighting and they hateful because you show favoritism when the children were growing up.
Yeah.
You know, everybody else can sit at the table and eat with a utensil. They got to sit there and eat with their hands. Talking about this greens with cornbread in it, just eyes out like he eat mine. No, but I want a fork. Everybody else got regular cup. But because you went to bed, you get the same level, same size cup, but your drink is down here, and everybody else's is at the rim. What happened to me, y'all? When folk would come over, everybody else had to sit at the regular table and with their regular chairs, and we'd bring in a stool with a red and black top and put it in the middle so the guests could sit down. We'd put bucket on the stool. And before you know it, you wonder why. Their cause is division. You gonna be somebody, the other ones ain't. And they never reach full potential. I'm moving on. I'm closing on the next when I go to my next point. But let me just say this: I was watching a documentary. When you get a chance, you ought to watch the documentary. It comes on HBO. It's called what's the name? I can't off the top of my head. I've lost the title. But basically, it's a documentary with college professors. They're talking about the culture. It's just something like the culture division or something like that. But anyway, there's a part in there towards the end. There's a parent, a father. He named one of his child loser, and he named the other child winner. And what actually happens is they live or they reach opposite lives. The winner ends up going to prison all of his adult life, and loser becomes a professor at Harvard. But he named the children loser and winner. Yeah. And you wonder why. Yeah. Division in the house. You wonder why Joseph's brothers put him in the pit.
That's right.
Because he showed that that's my favorite boy. Yeah, and he can't do no wrong in his father or mother's eye. So you got to be understanding that when you're preparing the children, you're also preparing them to learn and work together. Third and finally, you see a mother's pleasure. Mother's pleasure, and you see that there, and I'm not going to read it all, but really starting around verse 7 through 10, you see what happens. Pharaoh is down there bathing. Pharaoh's daughter is down there bathing. This Pharaoh's daughter here, her name is Hatshepsut. And Hatshepsut is believed that she was barren. So part of the reason why she is so moved with compassion when the baby cries, when she looks at the baby, because she can have a baby of her own. And her husband is Thutmose II. Thutmose II is the Pharaoh, is her half-brother, but he's the Pharaoh that ends up marrying somebody else because she could have children. So she's so moved with emotion when she looks down and sees the baby because she can't have her own baby. So she tells the maid to fetch the ark from the river, and as the ark is being fetched, the one who his sibling married is there. She has enough wherewithal to say to Pharaoh's daughter, do you want me to go get a Hebrew woman to nurse the baby? She has enough sense to know that if she gets the right person, the mother can still have pleasure even though she had to let the child go. So she goes and gets Jochebed, which is Moses' biological mother, to basically nurse and rear the child while she is in the house, while he's in the house of Pharaoh. What I'm saying, all I have to say is this: when you raise your children right, even when they go off somewhere else, you can still reap the benefits of their life.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
You don't want your kid to go off to college, but when they go off to college, they get an education, they can make a good job. When you are old and gray, they can take care of you. See, once an adult, twice a child. You live long enough, somebody will have to take care of you. See, you can't understand that when you're 30 years old and your child is 15. You had them at 15 years old, and because you don't even think that you're going to ever get old, what happens is they want to go off to school, you want to send them to community college. Yeah. So they can never expand their mind, their thinking. You want them to stay cemented in their own little world, that everything's about South Dallas. Everything's about Mesquite. Everything's about Duncanville. And I want you to know there's a world greater than the suburb. And you prepare them, you send them off, you can reap the benefits. Look at her benefits. First of all, she gets to nurse her own baby. Yeah. While she's nursing the baby, Pharaoh's daughter is putting some money in her pocket. So she's getting government assistance for taking care of her own child. And while she's getting government assistance for taking care of her own child, then she actually gets to raise the child to a certain age so she can instill some qualities you learn to raise your child how you're supposed to.
Yeah.
You know, you're not losing a daughter and all that stuff when they get married. You're gaining.
Yeah.
I don't want them to grow and spread their wing. Well, if you want them to stay around you in your little sorry world all your life, and it's just you two, then you're going to be bitter. You're going to be a bitter old woman.
Yeah.
They ain't going to call you. They ain't going to come and see about you. But see, when you allow them to experience life,
Yeah.
you may not be the one who gets the gift on Mother's Day no more, but they're going to still call you.
That's right.
They're going to still take you out to eat, get you some steak and lobster. They're going to do whatever they can to help you out. You can actually call them and say, you got a few dollars I can borrow, and when they give you the money, there's no sweat on their back.
Yeah. That's good.
See, too many parents don't want to let go of their kid. And they wonder why. The kid is bitter towards them. They ain't going to call you all month. They can be right, they can drive past your house every day. They ain't going to stop. They see your grass getting high, they'll put a little sticky note on the door and say, somebody need to cut your grass. That's because they don't want to be around you. But when you raise them right, when you protect them, when you prepare them, then you can reap the benefits. And I'm closing here. When you think about folk in the Bible, mothers who reap the benefits of their children, it's all about how they protected the child and how they prepared the child. You remember Hannah, don't you?
Yeah.
Hannah was barren. She couldn't have a child. She prayed to Jesus, to God, for a man child. God gave her a man child. She said, if you give me a man child, I will give him back to you.
That's right.
She gave Samuel back to God, and he stayed in the temple with Eli.
That's right.
Eli's son was so corrupted that Samuel actually rises to become the judge and the bridge to the prophets. So as a king, he says, I need some folks, some mothers who can instill some protection and some preparation in the child. John the Baptist's mother, Elizabeth, when she has a baby, she realizes what she has in her womb. She does not try to keep John the Baptist from reaching his full potential, but she already knew that she had the forerunner. And if you have a forerunner dwelling in your midst, then you don't try to keep the forerunner from going on. You push him forward.
That's right.
And in closing, mothers on this day, for Mother's Day, it is about you. But recognize that it is also about the children.
That's right.
If you want the children to come back and see you, be mindful of how you treat them while they're in your presence. See, I was so ready to get away from home, not because I had a bad life, but my senior year of high school, I was living with my dad. I got out beside myself. Can you believe it? Mama kicked me out the house, and I was walking down the street with my trash bag. And I'm walking from Ball Springs, I'm going all the way to Duncanville. I don't need no help. I don't need nobody to pick me up. Till I got a mile away from home. I called Daddy. Daddy, she put me out. Can you come pick me up? And he got in the car and came all the way from Duncanville, Ball Springs, where I was at, picked me up, took me to the house. And I never realized how good my mom treated me until I had a stepmom. Although I was 18 years old and a senior in high school, when I realized that I had to buy my own soap, had to buy my own toilet tissue. Even though you had Charmin inside your closet all the way up to the top. Couldn't use your Charmin. When I realized that I like soda, you had the 20-ounce sodas hidden in the truck. But you would leave the evidence on the table so I can see you got Sprite. Realized what a mama really is. When I realized that I would get off the dark bus, because I was going to Skyline from Duncanville, and the buses don't go into the suburbs. I would get off right there where the Albertsons used to be there in Duncanville, right over there where the new church is with, you know what I'm talking about, iBox. And I'd have to walk from that Albertsons all the way to my dad's house, which was on the other side of the train tracks. He would say, "Why are you walking? Call Angela." Said, "I called Angela. She said she was at the store, so she couldn't pick me up." I walked 2 blocks home after I had been at school all day. Then the agreement was that if I didn't work, I had to do dishes. Now I worked just about 7 days a week because I worked at Tom Thumb, and if I wasn't working at the Tom Thumb, I was working at the Albertsons, the one I had dropped off at. Because my daddy said if you only need 2 credits to graduate, you don't go to school all day, you work the rest.
Yeah. All right.
So I was on co-op. I would get off at noon and work till 10 o'clock at night, just about every day of the week. But when you're 18 years old and you finally get 1 day off, you're excited.
Yeah.
But the agreement was if I got off work, didn't have to work, I would do dishes. But I was doing back dishes from the whole week.
Yeah.
Because the same one who would put the soda cans on the table, even though she didn't work, she wouldn't cook and clean either the house. So what happened was I would be doing dishes even though it's Thursday. I'd be doing dishes from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'd be washing dishes for 3 hours. So I might as well went to work. Then, you're 18, you got a little girlfriend, so you want to talk on the phone. But she told my dad, even though I was top 10% of the class and had all A's and B's, I talked on the phone too long because when her mom and her sister would call, even though they talked already 5 times that day, because none of them worked, when they would call, I said, "Call her back." So when I would say, "Call her back," she told my daddy, "I talked too much on the phone," so then I had to use the fax phone. Didn't really know what I had at home until I had a stepmom. The night I graduated, although all my clothes and possessions was at my daddy's house, I never went back to retrieve nothing from my daddy's house until I went off to school the day before I left for school. Said all that to say, "Mama, you've been good